Afternoon, everybody. My name's Mike Edwards. I run a company called DIY Doctor Limited. We are, in fact, the largest DIY information site in the world. I'm very proud of that. We have over 22,000 pages of DIY and self-build information. It's all completely free. And you can come and join us with 120,000 other people that click into our website every week. They're all looking for help and advice on projects they're doing at home. We monitor what they want to do because they go to our forum or they email questions or whatever, and we look at the pages that people land on. We can measure how many people land on each individual page. So we look at the popular pages and then we build projects about them, we do seminars about them or whatever. Obviously, as you can see from the crowd, tiling a bathroom is a very popular would-be project for people. It's a bit scary though, sometimes. So we endeavour to put something together that shows you how to make these things simple. It's called Tricks of the Trade, and you'll learn one or two here today. And we hope you enjoy it. One of the first things that a good tradesman will do is protect the surfaces of the area and room he's working in. The best product that we have ever seen for doing that is this stuff here. If you can all see that. It's called Trio Plus. It's simply sticky back plastic on a roll. The adhesive won't hurt the surfaces you put it onto. It's very, very tough, very, very durable. It won't slip. You can put ladders on it. I don't know if you've ever used dust sheets at home and put your foot on it and you've slipped, and they're as dangerous as not having them. But this stuff, you simply roll it out, tread it down, and that's stuck. And that's stuck quite well, and yet, at the same time, it doesn't damage any surface that it goes onto. It's 25 quid a roll, so if you're doing it yourself, protect the area, protect the sinks, protect the basins, whatever, it will stick to almost anything. And at the end you just roll it up and throw it away, and that saves. I don't know if anybody's ever done any tiling and you've dropped a blob of adhesive and put your foot on it, and then oh man, it turns quite a simple job into a nightmare, So if you want some of that, if you go round the corner to our bookstall, you can pay for a roll of this. Come back, we'll keep the roll here for you until you go home. But it's very, very light, it's not heavy, so when you go home, come pick it up, and it's great. Give it to your builder if you've got any builders coming in, and say, use that before you come anywhere near my house. Okay, put it up the stairs, it's fantastic. Okay, so tiling a bathroom. The biggest mistake that people make when they're tiling or they're about to tile. I've dropped my safety goggles. You can see they didn't smash. That's a good sign with safety goggles. The biggest mistake that people make when they're tiling a bathroom is to just start sticking the tiles on the wall. There's a preparation technique, and a professional tiler, somebody that does this for a living, obviously, will know before they even put any adhesive on the wall exactly where every tile goes, exactly how wide each cut is that they're going to need to put on the wall, and they will know how many tiles they're going to need for the entire thing, and they're going to do that with the aid of a stick. Just a stick. In the trade we call it a gauge rod because that's posh. And this is how you use it. Before you do anything else, you get the tiles that you're going to use and you mark them from one end, starting with a joint. Now I've drawn these joints slightly larger than you would use in a bathroom, although we do like to keep our joints quite wide because it allows you to force the grout in the joint, and you'll hear later on that the grouting is the most important part of your tiling job. So you gauge that all the way through. Joint, tile joint, tile joint, tile joint, tile joint. Doesn't matter how long the stick is because you don't tile underneath the bath, so I'll show you that in a moment. So there's your tile. That's how your tiles are going to sit on the wall, okay? Or that's how you'd like them to sit. So we're going to start in this corner. Tell me if you can't see. We're going to start in this corner. So we have a joint, and then we have a tile, full tiles all the way through to this point here. Okay? So then we just mark that point on the wall, move the stick along until we've got another full tile there, okay? And we can see that we started with a full tile there, but at this end, we're going to end up with half a tile, okay? That's not really very good, okay? You shouldn't really start tiling unless you're going to be absolutely guaranteed that this rule is upright, completely and absolutely plumb. You shouldn't start with a full tile. Because if you start with a full tile down the bottom and the wall is moving in any way, if it moves outwards, you're going to end up with a joint like that at the top. What you should do is start with a cut at either end, or you start with a cut at that end, and what you work out using this gauge rod is that you have the same, a similar size cut at both ends of the wall. So what we're going to do here, we can see that we started with a full tile there, and we've ended up with half a tile here. So we add the tile to the half a tile, we got a tile and a half, and we divide that by 2, and we got 3/4 of a tile. So if we start with 3/4 of a tile there, we'll end up with 3/4 of a tile here. So that's symmetry on our wall, okay? And it allows us, if there's any movement in this wall, if this wall's leaning over or leaning out, because we've got a cut there, we have at least 1/4 of a tile to play with. So if it goes in, we cut the tile a little smaller. If it goes out, we cut it a little bigger. So we know exactly where we are. And what we also know is that we're going to do these cuts last because it allows us to put a perfectly symmetrical tile pattern on our wall. Okay? So we've worked that out. That we'd also do the same from top to bottom. I don't know if you can see it. You might need to stand up at the back. But we've put a little piece of skirting on that wall, and it's deliberately out of level. It's much higher at that end than it is at this end. Can you see that? Now that's going to happen in most of your houses, maybe to not that degree, but it's very, very rarely you're going to find a piece of skirting board in your house that's absolutely level. Okay? It kind of doesn't happen, which is why we've got a huge seminar on cowboy builders later on. Okay, so what we're going to do there is, we know we can't start on that skirting board, because if we did, if we put a tile on that skirting board, it's going to be at that kind of angle. So the further up the wall we go, the further we're going to lean over. So that first tile, which incidentally is going to be our last tile, but that first course of tiles is going to be the last one we put on. And then we cut it down to the skirting board. Okay? So what we do is use the gauge rod again. Only what we do there is we do exactly the same as we did across, but we measure it from the skirting up. Okay, and then we can work out where our full tiles are going to be and where the cut's going to be. So we're going to have a cut up by the ceiling, because the ceiling's going to be higgledy-piggledy, certainly not going to be level, and neither is the skirting. So we do exactly the same horizontally as we've done vertically as we've done horizontally. Okay? One thing to consider when we're doing the vertical marking out, we have a bath in most bathrooms, showers in most shower rooms. What we don't want, of course, is to start with the bath either, because the chances are that's not going to be 100% level. Okay? So we're going to ignore the bath. We're going to tile round the bath using what we've done on the wall. So if you look at the gauge rod, if I put the gauge rod there, so we're starting with a full tile from the point that we've marked on the wall, you can see that the full tile above the bath goes here. Okay? So we're going to mark that line absolutely level. Using our spirit level, we'll put that... Do you want to come around and have a look for those who can't see? So we put that line perfectly level across the top of the bath, and of course that line would extend along the length of the bath as well. Okay? Is that all making sense? Please stop me if I've lost anybody. Okay? So we know that this line here is perfectly level, and we know this line is absolutely level, and if we start on that line, we're going to end up on that line anyway. Yeah? Okay. So what we do then is we get our stick or our gauge rod, and it then turns itself back into a stick or a batten, and we fit it, we screw it to the line that we're working to. Just demonstrate that quickly. Okay, so that's our starting point on that batten. Okay, so we know now, because we've marked it out, we also get another piece of batten and we fix that to the wall there. Okay, that's because when we get to that course there's going to be nothing to support it. All right, so then we can lay our tiles on that batten and we know that they're perfectly level, they're perfectly spaced, and they will go up according to these lines perfectly vertically. Okay, so by the time we finish this wall we have a perfectly square area with cuts left down the side. Okay, it's at this point we then fill our bath. We put the plug in and fill the bath with water, because a bath full of water is heavier than you, or is about the same weight as you and a bath of water. And what we're doing there is allowing the bath to sink to its lowest point. Everything's flexible in the house, everything moves, including your bath. So when it's completely full of water, leave it for half an hour and it will drop to the level the lowest level it's ever going to be at, okay? It's then that we seal it. Before we do any tiling down to it, we seal it. Use some, this is frame silicone as it happens, but we use some sanitary mastic, clear white, doesn't really matter. Okay, this is the time that we do it. And we seal it, we make sure we've got a perfect seal between bath and wall all the way around while the bath is full of water. Okay? And then we leave that for a little while. Unfortunately, once again, the DIY programs on the television would have you believe you go in, you shut the bathroom door behind you, and then 45 minutes later you walk out and your bathroom's done. I don't know how they do that. It's just garbage. You need to practice. You need to set it out. It's the biggest mistake we all make, is just getting in there because we've seen it on the yeah, I can do that. But of course you come to a corner and you've got to cut a tile at about 1/4 of an inch and it's just impossible. But you doing it this way, by setting the bathroom out, you know exactly where every tile goes, you know what size it is, and you know how much you've got to cut. Okay, so there's no surprises. So we've sealed our bath, we've given that 1/4 of an hour, 20 minutes for it to the mastic to start getting a bit tacky, to go hard, and then we'll tile round it. We'd leave it full of water, there's no harm with that, okay? No harm in that at all. And then we come to doing the cuts. Now, we have a perfect square on there, so we do the cuts. Now, cuts are quite straightforward. I mean, you can do it in one or two ways. You can put your tile on the wall like that, mark that with a pencil, and then move down to your cutter. Now, we always use, I had this discussion with a lady yesterday, and I said you should expect to pay sort of 25, 30 quid for a cutter, and she said, oh no, she said, I got mine from a DIY shop for about 8 quid. It's okay, fine. I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't do that because these wheels, these cutting wheels, I don't know if you can see, cutting wheel there wears out very, very quickly, doesn't score the glaze, makes cutting quite difficult. It also wobbles out a bit, it doesn't give you a nice straight cut, and sometimes, you know, you can't get away without the cut being slightly visible when you're going down the corner of a wall. So my advice to anybody doing DIY, and bearing in mind there is a tool, I'll demonstrate a couple of them in a minute, there is a tool in the building industry for every single job you're even dreaming of undertaking. There's a tool for it. It's just a question of going and finding it. But if you don't, I mean, we've all been in the situation where we're trying to undo a 4-inch screw with a tiny little electrical screwdriver. That's not going to happen. You know, I don't know how many of us have broken our knuckles because we've used the wrong size spanner. You know, there's a tool for every single job you want to do. If you get the right tool, it's an easy job. Get the wrong tool, it's bloody hard work.